Yeah, welcome back to Stuff or Whatever podcast. Welcome back, BQuanchi here. We got a very special podcast this week, but before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. We can do here on YouTube, follow on X, Twitter, and on Twitch where I do streams which get uploaded back to YouTube. I do other Let's Plays and stuff on the channel. Appreciate the feedback and all that, and links are in the description. It's about on channel, yada yada yada. Yeah, so it's just a stupid solo podcast, but some things to talk about this week. I did want to make a little update on the channel in March, in April. I'm going to do more uploads for my BQuanchi gameplay, which is pretty much my Let's Play style uploads on the channel, just because I have a full job, not big, and all that. I don't upload too much. Too is the dress, but yeah, this got some backlog. I also want to talk about the Stream Next Fest because I got a lot of demos, so that's going to be a lot of the uploads is more indie game demos. But I'm also going to mix it up with some retro stuff. This and that is some projects that come across online, so be on the lookout. And a few more shorts. It just kind of depends. I like to do my shorts based on the indie game demos or anything I played recently. That I have footage of, so that may come and go, but I just wanted to mention that, and we'll see how that works out. But I'm having fun. I'm going to play these games anyway. Might as well just like throw it out there. Just throw spaghetti at the balls. Pretty much my mantra with this YouTube channel. And going on to the Stream Next Fest, a lot of the stuff I recorded hasn't been uploaded yet. Well, at least not posted yet. It's scheduled. Because that's how I like to put stuff on a channel. It's kind of like plan stuff out. Especially when I don't have to like really grind, but make some effort, I guess. At the end of the day, it's all a hobby, but some games I'm excited about for that's coming out is Hashtag Blood, Crypt Custodian, and Bears in Space. So those videos are coming out soon of me playing the demos. Probably one of my biggest game I'm looking forward to that's coming out very soon is Berserk Boy. But I played a demo a long time ago, and that's up on the channel too. So, a lot of cool stuff with that. I feel like Next Fest is primarily focused on indie games or all that. It seems like it. So it's almost like overwhelming to kind of look at different genres and categories and like what to play and all that. Because a lot of times they make the demos limited, so it's not always available. One thing I actually find a little workaround with that is that if you like download a demo, you can still play. I believe you can play it indefinitely. Because sometimes, like, the Steam launcher or whatever would be like, when it's not listed anymore, I think they delist it, which I get. Like, sometimes you just don't want your demo to be constantly out there while the game's still in development. It depends. Like, some leave it, some don't. And I guess it also depends on the game and the genre. But say, oh, that you downloaded that demo for Steam Fest, but now you can't play it because Steam says, oh, usually it says like uninstall or like takes you to the store page. But what you can do is right click the game, and when the drop down options it says I think manage, and then you can say view local files, and that'll just take you to where the files is stored on your computer. And just launch the application and play the demo. It's just like Steam's kind of weird. I think just because the developer like no longer listed as a demo, it gets a little weird, but you can still play it. Like there's some demos like they won't technically launch in Steam, but it's on my computer and I can play them. I just have to go to the local files versus clicking play in Steam. So if anyone's like curious, especially like if you're like recording footage or stuff like that, and don't have time to like get every game you want to, you can at least download the demo and get to it whenever. At least I'm pretty sure that's the case. The only thing I can think that can get, I guess, around that from the developer, like if they wanted to delist the demo, like maybe make an update and say, and an update would be like, hey, this demo is period ended. Look out for this game, and just like affect the actual application on the executable file on your computer, which I think that is way too much effort, especially like I don't think Steam would automatically update a demo if it got delisted. But just a little nugget for you if you ever do that or just curious that you could, for the most part, if like demos get delisted, you should still be able to play them whenever you want, even if the Steam launcher is a little iffy with it. Just look for the local files and you should be good to go. So that's my little tip when it comes to that. So next thing I want to talk about on this podcast is the whole recent passing of 2Mad, the YouTuber or whatever. I just have some thoughts. It's not really someone I really followed, but I'm always kind of interested in terms like YouTubers and creators and stuff like that. The only time I heard of really too mad is when he was on Super Mario, like did the video and did the podcast, and he seems a little deranged. But I guess like in recent times, a year or whatever, things have been coming out about him, like saying that he's fallen off. There's a lot of like terrible things he allegedly done. Not to really get into it too much, but I think a lot of like threatening people, and that's cool stuff with underage people. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And apparently there are receipts, but it's not really me to like. I'm not a drama channel to really go in depth about it, but I kind of want to just talk about it just because it's interesting in the sense like I guess it was like really popular. I know he was in that. This is Cass Vanderpool who does all the recap cartoons. He did recap of the SpongeBob movie, and he had Too Mad play as David Hasselhoff, which is really weird looking at it and all that. But seems like he's like not a cool guy. In recent events, a lot of people thought he was like funny. I guess like Gen Z humor and stuff like that. And it's kind of like sad that he was only 23, and that's like really young. And according to like the news, it was I think it's going to be apparently an overdose. I think it's still kind of early to say absolutely for sure, but it's probably like overdose. I guess he's been like dead for maybe a couple of days before discovered because he didn't show up to appointments and stuff like that. So it's not like it was discovered immediately. And one of the last things he done was play Overwatch 2, which there's a lot of memes about it. And I know like when he talks about someone's passing and stuff like that, there's dark humor, then there's like too soon or being, tone deaf or whatever. And it's hard for me to say like, hey, like I feel just what I heard about the guy, like not really much reason to defend him in his action. And I don't know. It is kind of a sad situation where you kind of wish someone would, turn himself around. But 23 is really young. Like you hear like celebrities who go through more shit and overdoses, or like rock stars and musicians or actors that get washed up and then they turn it around. And yeah, that's just crazy and all that. I think also like sometimes I think we just get more focused, or I wouldn't maybe use the word obsessed, but like when you look at like YouTubers or creators or streamers and stuff like that, it feels like they're more like real people. So it's like almost somewhat relatable. Whether you really follow a big fan or not, or they falling off in your views or your eyes or whatever. And then also like part of me just like not just like Too Mad, but other creators, like it makes me think like why are they successful? Like because you almost look like dumbfounded, like you're looking at some bizarre world, and like why do people think this is funny? Why do people think this is entertaining? All that. And I guess that also stems from a place of jealousy because, they get financially success and I don't. Although I'm probably not that creative or funny or entertaining. Just me. And I don't know. I could always like try to play it up, but I feel like that's a lot of work, but I guess sometimes it works for others as well. But it just like, I just going back to like 23 and all that. And yeah, I guess there's like going to be more stuff coming out. I know there was like a post on Twitter that went kind of viral about some of his really not cool stuff. I'm going to say not cool to just kind of blanket it into like a safe statement, but it'd be crazy to see what develops. I know like people always see like, hey, the person died, just move on or like respect them. But I think he, in this case, might not be a respectable person. Then you can still speak illy of people who deserve it or whatever, even though they can't take accountability or anything like that because they're dead. But it just kind of crazy to see. Also, I think part of it's just kind of crazy, especially like TMZ like talking about it because usually they're more like a celebrity thing. Although they just looking at I just look at the X Twitter account and they post so much, and I guess that comes with the territory as well. But it seems like kind of bizarre that a major. Well, it sounds weird to say TMZ is a major media outlet, but them covering this story, saying popular YouTuber, but I feel like he dropped off a lot. Like, I don't know. It's just, weird. And you just can't help but like gawk, especially when it comes to like these kind of people that seem like, oh, they're real people versus like higher celebrities and stuff like that. You don't see many sides of them. So it'd be interesting to hear more, but it is what it is, and I don't think it's gonna have any more good things about Too Mad coming out. Just pretty much a shit show, and I think that's human nature is to just like gawk and stare at and listen to a shit show. So we'll see how that is. And next thing I want to talk about on this podcast is, I guess you can call it somewhat of a controversy, whatever you want to call it, with Did You Know Gaming and Kotaku. And it's Did You Know Gaming is a channel I follow for a very, very long time. I've been liking the latest content that is more like deeper dives or a lot more effort in terms of like research. I know like a while back they were talking about that like Legend of Zelda spin-off game that was like a tactics, but then Nintendo like copyrighted, but it's not like it was a canceled project, but it got restored. So like, especially like with canceled projects or behind the scenes and stuff like that. But the controversy I'm referring to is that there was a recent video from Did You Know Gaming talking about lost media with the F-Zero franchise. They did videos about the service before, but it's called Satellaview for the Super Nintendo, the SNES that was, I'm not sure how long it lasted, but it was Japan only. And I think it was just pretty much satellite, that's satellite Satellaview. I'm trying to play on words on that. But a lot of times they do broadcasts and like have games available for a limited time. Sometimes with like commentary, sometimes exclusive stuff, content. Like I think there was like another version of Legend of Zelda that was on it. You probably check out the channel about it for more specific details. But basically, like the game would like the cartridge, whatever the hardware cartridge the gamer player would have, can like temporarily download these game ROMs or files and stuff like that and play it. And at specific times it can be overwritten and stuff like that. But they did a time there were the tracks with F-Zero that were unique to the servers that had never been released on like the SNES versions or anything like that. So these were exclusive tracks that were playable for a limited time. And the big thing with the Did You Know Gaming is that they I forget who they actually work with, and it's going to be funny later when talking about like credit and sources and stuff like that. But people were able to look at this footage from another person who uploaded like gameplay of it, like their capture of it, and they were able to like basically recreate these tracks, like make it in a sense restored without having actual ROM files, without actually having all the game data, but just having footage, video footage from gameplay. They will kind of like recreate, restore these F-Zero tracks, which I might even play. I think it's very interesting. So they link the source too, so I think that's really cool with Did You Know Gaming lately, is that they've been having all these resources, whether it be like stuff you can read and review or games you can play, at least footage you can check out, especially like assets. I know they did this whole lot of like Pokemon stuff too. I was like, just check out the channel, but I've been like into deeper dives and more interesting, unique stuff that's been come across. But going to my main point is that Kotaku did an article about it, but they did not credit Did You Know Gaming. I think they eventually did. They would kind of call out, and a lot of people, if you're familiar with Kotaku, like a game journalist or whatever website thing, it's not the first time. They've done it many times where they kind of like leave out sources or this or that. I can really remember by memory is, and the Super Mario Maker, that Rubber Ross guy, Rubber Ninja, whatever we call him, did a bunch of like troll levels, and then there was like a level where you have to kill Yoshi, and then someone beat it without killing Yoshi, but then they discredited Ross as some Super Mario Maker troll. So I feel like there's a lot of times that they kind of get around with like actually crediting people with not bothering simplifying it, or even like tags. I've seen times that they make typos and stuff like that. So that was a big thing that Kotaku didn't really like. They talked about Did You Know Gaming's video, but they didn't mention Did You Know Gaming, which I think it's kind of messed up. Especially in the sense that it feels like they put a lot of work or collaboration, because I think a lot of people involved, and you can watch their video to like learn more about the project and restoring all these F-Zero track. But I guess like some further controversy, if you want to even call it that, as I guess there was this one channel, whatever called like Gigaboots, that called him out a while back, and I guess it's kind of resurfacing. It goes back to like it's been a while. I can't keep track of like all the Dino gaming videos, but there's one about like bootleg games and use footage from one game that was uploaded by Gigaboots, and they get like upset that they didn't ask for permission and stuff like that too. This is what gets really dumb and all that, because it was like 20 or 30 seconds of the video, and people even defending Gigaboots, and it just seems kind of stupid. Just because like a lot of times, I feel like honestly it falls under fair use, especially like it's more of a convenience thing. Of like, hey, if you need like B-roll footage for something to talk about, just like grab it where you can. Especially if they go out of the way of like on screen crediting the source, and it's like becomes like a nitpicky, whatever you want to call it, that you get like, oh, you didn't credit them right, or you didn't ask for permission and stuff like that. Like some of the criticism, like when they put Gigaboot's name on the video on the screen, they didn't put a space between the name. Like, oh, you misspelled his name. There's a typo. That's going to affect things, but it literally doesn't. You can type it with or without the space until find a channel, the source. And one thing I think is also dumb is I was saying, oh, he paid for the hardware that got that footage. He paid for the editing software, and he uploaded it to his channel. But like, he didn't do that for the bootleg game. Like, he was going to have that anyway. It's not like he went out and said, oh, I have to get footage of this game, so I'm going to go out and buy a new computer. I'm going to go out and get this. Is like, it's just like, you have that tools to do so. And it is really stupid. You can get like nitpicking arguments feel very weak or very small. And you can also make like dumb arguments saying, hey, did Gigaboots have permission from the bootlegger, the creator of that bootleg game, to upload footage of that? Did he get that? Did he get permission? Did he credit everyone who worked on that game? And it becomes like a mess. Like, again, it falls into fair use, like unless you're like directly relying 100%, well, not 100, but maybe majority of the percent on that footage, then yeah, I can see that how that's kind of messed up. Or it becomes a crucial part of your video, not to ask permission. And maybe you give more efforts to give credit, even though, again, they technically did. But it just feels very stupid in a sense, like, with anything out there, like you see that all the time with like videos crediting sources. Like a lot of times it's like a note on screen in the corner. Like people talk about TV shows, people talk about movies, people talk about music, on and on. And it's like, are they going to ask permission for everyone to have this footage? Like for Let's Players or streamers, are they going to ask like, hey Nintendo, I want to play a new Mario game. Do I have your permission to play and stream it? Or do I have to credit everyone who worked on this game on this video? You have to make this effort. Like, what is enough? Like, it feels like if you're just going to be nitpicky, you can always argue that's not enough or that's not right. You didn't get the right permission. You didn't do it the right way. I mean, it's in the end of the day, it's pretty meaningless. It's kind of pointless and all that. Yeah, because I know this stuff, concerns about like theft and plagiarism and stuff like that. But if like using a little bit of B-roll, it helps add to your video, but it's your transformative, it's your unique content, then I just see those arguments fall very flat and all that. And like it seems like even going to like cartoons and stuff like that, like if you talk about, hey, I want to do a review, a commentary on Has-Been Hotel, do I have to ask Has-Been Hotel or the creators that, hey, I want to use the footage? If you use footage, you have to credit every animator who worked on it or every animator who worked in the scene. If your clip has voices from the show, do you have to credit every voice as they are heard and all that? It becomes like way too tedious and demanding when it doesn't really matter. I think that's just kind of stupid and all that. And even then, like there's some points that you're just not going to get the permission if you did technically ask. Like the big H Bomber guy video last year, plagiarism, like he covered a lot with Illuminati and James Somerton. He's not going to ask like, hey, James Somerton, can I borrow footage from your channel? Because I'm going to have examples of where you're directly plagiarizing and not doing this cool stuff. He's not going to be, oh, okay, use it. It's kind of like, no. Like, you're going to prove a point, and people will most likely not want to get that permission, but it's out there. It's, again, fair use and all that. Like, where do you like prove your point in terms of commentary being transformative and all that? And those are kind of very loose definitions, but there's like, and then it's also the point too is that like, hey, I can't put this video until I get this person's permission. So if like Did You Know Gaming is like, hey, I need Gigaboot's permission, and we send them an email, but they don't respond. Maybe they don't see it. Maybe they don't think that's actually Did You Know Gaming. Like, okay, we had to put everything on hold until we get permission to use this 20-second clip of just visuals and stuff. So it's just not realistic. It's just dumb to argue about and all that. But that's just like my little rant about it. Like, it's cool to give sources. I think the little annotations is enough, unless it's like more involved and maybe more links in terms of like descriptions or whatever. It just kind of like depends. It can really vary, but I just feel like the whole thing with the Gigaboo thing is just like getting mad. Just for the sake of getting mad, just feel like, oh, I'm this small guy. Like, they took my footage. I'm the underdog. And then people jump on that bandwagon just to jump on a bandwagon, and it's all that. But going back to what I said initially with this whole thing, is I feel like Did You Know Gaming did really step it up in terms of their work, their content, especially with research stuff. They're not going to be like 100% perfect 100% of the time. There are going to be issues. Like, there was like one where they had like a visual that was from AI generated art, which he didn't catch at first. So this things that slipped through the cracks, and I feel like in recent years they're better at taking more accountability, more transparency, but they do a lot of work. And especially compared to Kotaku, like, being this mad for Did You Know Gaming for a dumb clip, especially since they do that for a lot of other channels too, for whatever B-roll, like related B-roll to the subject matter of whatever video. Like, why get mad at in defense of Gigaboost versus all the other channels that don't have a problem with it? So maybe that speaks a lot of things. Is like all these channels have the footage featured on Did You Know Gaming. Again, it could just be B-roll. They are credited and sourced. Even if it's very minor. Again, it's a small part of the video. Like, Gigaboost is making a big deal about it. I just feel like it's being a big bitch. And then, like, in the case of Did You Know Gaming with a Kotaku, I think that's really well deserved. Like, hey, this was a big project of restoring these F-Zero tracks and all that. Like, Kotaku could have at least said, like, hey, it was featured in this Did You Know Gaming video. You can use a link to the video. Here's the video embedded on the website. So you can view it, see for yourself, learn more about it. So I think that's also kind of messed up. But yeah, just kind of getting my thoughts about that. And next thing I want to talk about is the Coyote versus Acme movie. And this feels like a headache just as a potential audience member. When you see like big companies, especially Warner Brothers, like, you know what the hell they're doing. It seems like maybe there's more nefarious reasonings or purposes like that. But I think I've been gone for a while about like, would this movie ever be released? Like, hey, it is finished, but they're not going to release it. They didn't find a distributor. Maybe they're going to try to sell it and didn't get the offer they wanted. Not listening to counter offers, and they're being tax write off. I forget I'm probably going to butcher his name. Like, is it David Zaldick? Whatever. I'm just going to say Mr. Douchebag. Because I guess a lot of people aren't happy with him. I know he's the CEO of Warner Brothers, but it's just like crazy to see because it's like a finished project movie. There's not the first time things been canceled or shelved. And even like a lot of like cartoons on HBO Max have been shelved because they don't want like pay royalties or something like that. Like, there's still some cost to it. I think there's like a whole write-off thing is just like limit the cost, but it's like the movie's finished and it may even turn in a huge profit because people want to see it. So if I have like other higher ups or like other board members at Warner Brothers, I'll be really pissed off. But I think it's still some time to see what happens. I remember like someone is it Congress or either the House or the Senate, like someone like wanted to investigate Warner Brothers for the business practicing, even citing this movie as an example. And it's just also bizarre too because like Looney Tunes, that's the big Warner Brothers property, and they're not standing by it. Okay, and it looks good. It's like the you probably don't need me to talk too much about like what the movie is, but it's like the whole like mixed media, like cartoons and live actions, and pretty much like a modern day Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But it looks really good. It looks promising, but then they don't want to release it. And yeah, it just really sucks. People who worked on it, all that. Like, it's finished. Just like put it out. Like, there's clearly a demand. I feel like they shouldn't be able to write it off. Like, they say, hey, there's clearly a demand for this. Like, no, you either take the loss or release it and try to get a profit. You're not even trying to get a profit, which you're likely to get, and all that. I don't know. I just feel like it shouldn't be legal. And I feel like, hey, if it comes to like, if you want to cut your bottom line, or if you don't want it to seem like you're having loss, like maybe cut that CEO salary so the higher ups get paid like a shit ton. Like it's probably almost like pennies in comparison, especially when this movie can make money and all that. If people like want to get it leaked and all that, I think at the end of the day too, like being an audience member, like you feel like, oh, if they're gonna like cancel this, shelf that, delist this, should I care about Warner Brothers and their properties and their services and what they put out? Like, should I care about HBO Max? Like, oh, is my favorite show going to be taken off? Is my favorite show going to get canceled? Is my favorite movie not even going to come out? Like, there's other Looney Tune ones with, I think it's like The End of the World or something like that. I forget the exact title. I know I've seen snippets of like screenshots with Porky Pig and Daffy. Like, oh, that Warner Brothers movie that might come out. Should I just like assume it's just going to get shelved? Should I not care about anything Warner Brothers? Because I'm just going to assume I'm just going to get burned in the end as an audience member. So it's kind of annoying and it's kind of sad. And it's I think like a lot of people worked on it, and also there's clearly a demand. It just seems like we want to see it. But the Sandy Cheeks movie that was a Netflix exclusive that hasn't come out yet got leaked. So why not this? We want to see it. I feel like even like honestly, Wile E. Coyote is one of my favorite Looney Tunes character, at least one of my favorite designs, and it's a shame. People like talking about like the whole Space Jam Legacy movie, like how they almost like poke fun at this whole thing, and that featured a lot of Warner Brothers property, including Looney Tunes. So it's like just release the movie, we want to see it. So it's just really a frustrating situation that really sucks and all that. And last thing I want to talk about on this podcast is medical debt, which I feel like I don't really have too much experience directly with medical debt, but a lot of news I get, I always feel awkward saying this, like from a YouTuber, from Philip DeFranco, his show. Although I feel like, not to discredit that, but they do a really great job in terms of getting news out there. It's like almost like my daily drive home from work. I listen to it, but I think with like last week or so, they're talking about, I forget which date, but about like medical debt, like getting it written off for a lot of people. I think it just kind of varies, like depending on the situation and stuff like that. But like when you think about like medical debt can be like a huge burden, especially people who are uninsured or underinsured and stuff like that. Like it's even scary. Like I feel like medical debt is scary, like to the point that I honestly don't see a doctor unless I'm like have strep throat or feeling like sick or anything like that. I'm very fortunate that I don't have any like conditions, or I've never been really seriously injured or anything like that. I have anything chronic in terms of my health, but it's just like scary to think about it. Like even like hearing stuff like the price of insulin and managing that, or getting rehabilitation because this was injured or you needed surgery for that, and you realize like having medical bills and then was like cripple you financially, or like it turns your life upside down because of a car accident or an injury and stuff like that. I even like listen to podcasts or like hear stories like some people would just like refuse to get to an ambulance even though it's like necessary, stuff like that. It depends on the situation, but I feel like an ambulance ride is like holy shit, that's like 10 years of paying off debt depending on the situation. So I think it speaks a lot for our country. Um, I forget that being a small channel, U.S. based, U.S. citizen, all that. But I'm kind of curious about other countries like Canada. I know they're really known for their healthcare and stuff like that too. But I think a lot of times like people may like feel like a burden, even though I even have insurance. I probably should see a doctor on a regular basis and stuff like that. But it feels like, oh, they're gonna want to do blood work, or maybe I might need to be on some medication in terms of like maybe my weight, maybe this or that, or I don't know. If like, oh, now I'm gonna spend more money on my health, then I can like bury my head in sand and not worry. And then a lot of times that can be worse. Like I remember hearing like stories like someone with like an infected tooth. It got so bad, but he didn't want to see anyone, so they actually died from a decaying tooth infection and stuff like that. Like people will lose like limbs from like a bad cut or injury to the arm or leg, and they get so infected or even die and stuff like that because you may need surgery, but then that surgery is going to cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. given whatever insurance covers, if you even have insurance. So people, I think it also comes to this whole like mental um, view, even like maybe it has to do with mental health as well. Like saying, "Am I worth it?" Like, "Hey, I'm sick. Hey, I'm injured. Hey, I need these medical services, but am I worth it?" If it means like 5, 10 years later, I'm still paying a medical bill, like, am I worth it? I think that's why medical debt scares me. And I honestly, I'm really ignorant when it comes to that. Like, I'm not sure if I do more for my health. Like in terms of like see a doctor, maybe that does like yearly blood work or this is exams or this and that. Like, is that going to benefit me or just going to mean like, oh, it's something more I have to pay for? And I feel like, oh, am I worth paying, investing in my health for just me? Like, it really hard when you have that mentality or struggles with mental health. Thinking, am I worth it? I think that's the thing. Like, am I worth the investment of good health? Am I invested to have a clean bill of health and all that? And then even then, like, hey, and people, I'll just shake off this injury or rub some dirt on it or whatever. Things you want to say when it comes to like injuries and stuff like that too. But it's really scary. Like I'm extremely fortunate that nothing serious happened to me health wise. Sometimes I worry. Like I wonder, like, what if I'm diabetic and I'm not even, maybe even borderline, and I'm not taking steps to evaluate that or see what I can do for my health, my weight, all that. Again, kind of like an average person, I guess, when it comes to health stuff. But yeah, it gets scary out there. Like, are people who have like so many different allergies, like, oh, you ate the wrong thing and now you have to be rushed to hospital, and then you have this huge bill for a couple $1,000 because you got exposed to peanut that you didn't realize was in the food you were eating at the restaurant or whatever. So it gets really scary, especially when it means your health and your actual life and all that. But again, I'm ignorant, but I think a lot of people are. I think that's part also why I'm even saying this in the first place. I think a lot of people are ignorant, like thinking, oh, doctors and hospitals mean bills that you pay off, so I'm not going to bother. Even if it's the right things, maybe cost-wise is not too bad with insurance or what have you. But I think the idea of just being financially burdened by seeing a doctor is really fucking scary. And that's like my final thoughts on that. But that'll do it for the podcast for this week. So thanks for listening. Let me know in the comments anything you like, if anything I said hit a nerve or anything like that. Again, a more gaming focused channel. So be on the lookout for more uploads and things like that. But just getting some ideas, my thoughts out with current events, at least current for what I care about talking about. So anyways, I'll see y'all next time, and y'all take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye.